Hello everybody, it's Ophelia Dragon from Atomic Monsters. Let me just check my mic level really quick. Good. Alright, I'm doing a Decktech and a video. I have a game for Ghired I wanted to show everybody. I'm using the replay function on Magic Online, which I don't like using because it's generally really broken, and it's not often you can get a full game played out, especially in multiplayer. One minor glitch that the game engine itself can play through, and the replay just breaks. And it actually does break near the end of the game, but it's at a point where I can actually just explain to you what is happening, anyways, and it's at the end, on the last turn. Uh, Ghired, I found Ghired interesting. Uh, he seems like he can create a lot of value. And it gives me a chance to play with some cards I don't normally get to play with. In decks, I don't usually use stuff like Anointed Procession or Primal Vigor. I don't own a doubling season, otherwise I would find a home in here for it. It can win through beatdown and be really quick. I've had some really fast games where Gira just was able to beat people down really fast. However, I find beatdown is usually a really uh, fragile strategy to win the games, especially in multiplayer. There's just so much stuff that can slow you down, and oftentimes you can only take out one or two people with it at a time, and you can basically wind up blowing your load and then fall prey to whatever's coming next, or effectively because you have wasted all that time and energy killing one person, given the other players in play effectively a time walk while they find their win condition. This deck's a little bit more on the casual end, but it does have some options in it. Aside from being able to beat people down, it has ways of winning using Impact Tremors and Perforos, which is pretty simple. You can get a lot of value off of stuff like Dragon Master Outcast, and uh, can do a lot of doubling and value generation with stuff like Kiki Jiki. It has a Kiki Jiki conscripts combo in it because both are really good in this deck on their own, so it's really easy to include them in here. However, the primary also can get value off Omnath and win off Omnath. The primary, though, win condition, like the primary way to combo out and win, is some sort of sack outlet, usually for mana being the better option, with like Alter or the other Alter. You can also use Alter Dementia to mill people out, and Greater Good to draw cards. However, it's a little harder to loop on that because you've run out of mana, of course, and the altars provide you mana. And then you use stuff like Collar of the Claw and Fresh Meat. Oh, I dropped it. There we go. Collar and Claw and Fresh Meat uh, to effectively uh, continue your loop and generate more value after you've sacrificed all your creatures. Then you can Fresh Meat or Collar the Claw and then sacrifice more and effectively loop it. In fact, that's the way we win this game. I'm not 100% sold on all the deck choices in here. Play has been a bit clunky in some games and amazing in other games, and I'm still trying to pinpoint just where the slot is that I need to cut and what I need to add in. And I'm actually thinking, like, I usually run pretty low land counts, and I play a lot off of good mulliganing and filtering and choices and sequencing. Um, but I'm thinking that this might actually be preferably a 30 land deck. I just got to figure out what to cut and what to add, or possibly some other ramp option I'm looking for. I'm not sure. However, the game that I'm about to show you proved that it's it can take a lot of mana disruption really fast and still uh, go off with hardly even a hiccup. Some other little things to point out in here, of course, populate options such as Sundering Growth. Um, Second Harvest technically is a populate. Testing out full flowering, which I'm finding to be really, really good. I'm also considering the deck that I showcased recently with Verdant Succession. This is a deck that can definitely run that. I've already got the World Spine Worm in here, and you just add something like Verdant Succession and Wheel of Sun and Moon in here, and it's possible that this might be the deck that actually can go into. I'm not sure yet, but if it is, it would actually be really, really fun to make work. Um, Lots of copying effects. Stellar, the stellar performers in here so far have been Martyr's Bond and Fresh Meat Collar. I might need a Sacred Witness effect. And Dockside Extortionist, if you don't have one, you should get them before people figure out how good it is and start buying them up like they do on paper. Any deck that can run a Dockside Extortionist should probably have it. It's a card that you don't try and figure out if you want to include it. You try and come up with reasons not to. It's that good. It can generate a lot of mana, and it's a huge part of the reason why we win this game that I'm about to showcase for you. And we'll just go into the games. See if I can find it. 744. Yeah, there we go. All right. Now we have here. I've played Drakkar, I recognize the name, and I think I've played Sky Shadow before. I hope this works as well as when I was testing it. We're playing against Animar, Rowan, and Will, and against God Eternal, Oketra. The decks that concern me the most here, walking into this, are Animar and the Will and Rowan. However, Animar drops out right away. I'm not sure why. Maybe they don't like their hand. But so we'll minimize them because they're just going to drop out of the game. Um, the opponent that actually winds up causing me the most trouble is this deck, and that's only because they start getting life off of me comboing off. However, I'm still able to get completely ahead of them in spite of that, and I get a lot of early disruption from Will and Rowan. I actually go to keep. I decide to keep this hand. It actually looks really, really solid, but I contemplate between starting with the Moss Wart Bridge and protecting my mana rocks until turn 2 or possibly 3, or playing them out. But I ultimately decide that I want to get a second turn Perforos, and the chance of getting hit with turn 1 Artifact Hate is relatively minor compared to the benefit of getting a turn 2 Perforos out. So that's what I choose to do, is I go with the Sacred Foundry into the Soul Ring, into the Talisman, into the Skull Clamp, as we'll see. We got the ignore the old chat here. That's from the previous replay that I did. So it's showing the end of game chat from the previous. I actually get a little weary of the strip mine. It's also informs my decision not to just go first turn Mosswart Bridge. While a lot of people generally won't early strip mine in Commander in multiplayer, um, somebody dropping down a first turn Mosswart Bridge can seem like pretty good value to hit. So I decide to go with that's where I finalize my decision on going with the second turn Perforos instead. Plus, if I do get strip mined, I have more mana out and I'm not actually set behind. When I draw the wheel, I'm actually really happy with that, and it becomes important. I put the Eyes of the Wisest under here. All those choices honestly weren't that great. I got a lot of anti-blue in here. This one's really good because it actually makes you tokens. However, it hasn't really done much yet, so I might actually cut it. So I drop out the Perforos. That may be where one of my cuts is going to wind up being. I've skipped running Intangible Virtue in here because I find it's actually counterproductive with Skull Clamp. And I find I more want to be on the Skull Clamp game than I do on the buffing tokens game. It's there he decides to, he draws a Field of Ruin. So he decides to Field of Ruin my Mosswarp Bridge. I grab a Forest here. And he decides then to strip mine me. That's pretty big, but I have this wheel, so I should be okay. Let's see what I draw. So I draw a Recruiter. I decide that the wheel is the best choice here. The Recruiter is not going to do much for me. It'll find me something I can't play this turn, unless I get like an Outcast, Dragon Master Outcast. The only real thing I could do here that's of any worth is wheel and rebuild. Also disrupts their hands anyways. As you see, I draw pretty good. Drop out the Extortionist. Make some mana, and then equip it. Get ready for the next turn. We get to see some really good synergy here between Dockside Extortionist and Martyr's Bond. It's ultimately the reason why I decided to run Martyr's Bond as his deck is treasure tokens. I normally find I'm a little more picky at the 6 mana mark, 5 and 6 mana marks in a deck. And what I choose to include, I find usually a 6 mana card like Martyr's Bond can be very situational and be a dead turn way too often. But in this deck, I find that with all the access to things like treasure tokens and the ability to sacrifice creatures, that it actually was a solid choice in this deck, and this game helps prove my point. So I draw the Twin Flame, and I see my line here, and I immediately copy the Extortionist, making even more tokens because of the fresh artifacts that were just played. And I play the Martyr's Bond. And then I sack treasures in order to play Altar, which makes him sacrifice his artifacts. I then sacrifice the Dockside Extortionist to draw some cards and get rid of the God Eternal. And I play land, equip, and sacrifice the token. And you see, I got double strip mined in it already. I'm way ahead. I take the Bramble Sovereign off of the growing rates. Honestly, this is the turn that won me the game. decided to just mainly go with mana here. I don't want to run into a potential counter and get blown out, so I just go with stuff that he's more likely to let happen. He's going to have to start playing proactively against white as white builds up anyways. And I play the Bramble Sovereign. Provide some defense. Set me up for a good next turn. This is the card that slows me down. So I will gain a lot of life as I'm cycling through my combo. It's funny because later on he actually gets kind of mad at me for comboing off, and literally the thing that's drawing the game out and making it so hard to kill him off is the ashes. So I play my commander and copy it with Bramble Sovereign. I let the token die, so it'll trigger Martyr's Bond. This way I get extra rhinos. Clamp up a rhino, sack it, play a bird, clamp the bird, keep up red elemental blast. This hand is looking really, really solid. He plays out the Dualcaster Mage. That confuses Sky Shadow, but ultimately what he's trying to do is be able to draw off of the Ghired Orrery, so that they can have an empty hand and draw 3 cards, extra cards, rather than just drawing 1, which I think is a smart play. They're recognizing how this game's getting away of them. Drop out an Arbiter and a Sharpshooter. They're clearly looking to combo off in some way as well. So I play the second Harvest, making an extra token. That doesn't sound right. Yeah, that's totally not what happened. All right, this game is bugged out. That's not what happened. I didn't second harvest there. I know that for a fact. I wouldn't second harvest for one token when I have full flowering out. So there's something buggy has happened here. I'm gonna try and get to that point in the game again, really quick. See, because even the first time I replayed through this, it played differently. But that's the turn I win. Also, Wizards of the Coast, fix your replay. Fix the replay, please. It's just completely useless for people who want to go back and like see how they played their games and learn from them. It's pretty useless. Almost there. Couple turns. Anybody who likes tokens and wants a fun higher end casual strategy with some neat options and lines of play that take some thinking and can get around the usual things that like token strategies may struggle with, this is the deck for you. I recommend giving it a try. If you feel, if you're somebody who feels they need more land in here, then definitely. I think it just broke again. Yeah, okay. As everybody can see, this turn keeps playing out different. I keep drawing a different card. This Heat Shimmer should actually be at the bottom of my deck because I found it off Growing Rights. That's not in my hand at all. So what I did here is I full flowering and made multiple copies of my token, and then sacked them to draw through my deck with Skull Clamp to build up mana. And what happened? We'll get back here to the collection. Is I drew into Fresh Meat, and I played Fresh Meat, and then I repeated the cycle. Drew into Eternal Witness. Eternal Witness back to Fresh Meat, went again, and then drew into Finale of Devastation to get back the Witness and did it again. And killed everybody with Perforos. Where did he go? There he is. So this was a Perforos win using Phyrexian Altar and Fresh Meat. This is also would have worked with the Collar of the Claw. It's why they're both in here. and Eternal Witness and Finale. And it also proved like how good a card like Full Flowering could be, allowing you to make a lot of value really quick. And the whole "can you just attack please" was because the ashes here kept gaining him life, which was slowing down the kill from Perforos, because every time I attack a creature, they gain life. And I wasn't in a situation where I could attack to finish them off, really. Even when they were at low life, there's a point when they reach about 5. At that point, I still only had a couple. I only had my commander in play at the time. So I couldn't just swing and do 2 to them. I needed to be able to get more tokens in play, so I continued the combo and just comboed them off. But yeah, that was the cycle. It was flowering, sacrifice, gain mana, draw cards, into fresh meat, repeat into witness, fresh meat, finale, witness, fresh meat, good game, and that was it. Just to go over some of my deck choices in here. I'm running Kessig or Field of Dead because it's a token generator, and this land is really good, and I run it in a lot of decks that don't even need the tokens. It's just a really, really solid land that just about any deck can make use of. I run it Kessig for being able to like one-shot people if it was a single creature if I need to, like, with all the mana I generate. Stuff that it's pretty common in green-red builds. A mirror pool, which I actually don't run in a lot of decks, but in here it actually works. I got to make use of it a couple games before. Ways of handling blue. We run Carpet of Flowers, Red Elemental Blast, Veil of Summer, and I'm thinking the Eyes of the Wizened can come out. I haven't seen it actually do much. I'm going to watch it and see what it does for a bit more, see if I can get some value out of it, see if I've just been having some bad draws that don't work for it. Star performers are in here are Dockside Extortionist. For my life gain options, I'm using Anointer Priest and Suitor Priest to keep down on the lower end of the curve. Plus, Anointer Priest can come back as a token, which is actually pretty important. And Suitor Priest actually counteracts a lot of other strategies by draining other decks that are also trying to create a lot of tokens and creatures. Dragon Master Outcast can gain a lot of value really, really fast, providing you with a lot of 5/5s that you can double up on. Impact Tremors and Perforos provide you extra win condition with all the value you're generating. You have your sack outlets. You have your token doubling. I'm also iffy on Cryptolith Rite. I'm not sure if this deck needs that. I don't think it's generating enough 1/1s regularly to make that worthwhile. But I could be wrong. It's also possible this deck wants some haste. I'm running a Sundial to deal with stuff like Heat Shimmer and Twin Flame and Kiki tokens that would possibly die at end of turn or similar. So I can just keep them and can generate more value. I'm testing out Flame Shadow Conjuring. Of the enchantments that stick in play and create tokens that copy your creatures, this one, and also where did he go? Sovereign, I think are where we want to be, because they're both at 4 mana, and other options for that start getting a little more expensive. This Primal Vigor, for instance, should be a doubling season. I'm not a big fan of Primal Vigor. I find that it's clunky at 5. There might be room for both, but definitely would rather have doubling season over Vigor. We have sources of extra treasure here with Extortionist and Ties. Smothering Ties being one of the best white cards in the format. Probably the best white card in the format. Might find room for a Silence, just to add some extra interaction. Omnath hasn't done much yet. I'm not sure if I actually want Omnath in here. I'm beginning to think at 7 mana that may not be what I want. But your mileage may vary depending on your playstyle and your card preferences. One of my possible loops here is with Archon of Justice to keep being able to make Archon tokens, and then sacrifice them. Testing Godpharaoh's Gift, it's been okay. I may consider cutting that to get my curve down. World Spineworm, though, I think is really, really good here. With all of the draw and sack options, it's good. And it's provides you an extra win con that's a little harder to get rid of. It can be plowed or pathed or whatever, but if you're forced to discard it or mill it, or if it's killed while it's on the board, it just generates value. So I think that's a good keep, but I'm iffy on Omnath. I'm iffy on Godpharaoh's Gift. I think Vigor should be a doubling season. I think that Eyes of the Wyson probably should be something else. Pretty happy with just about everything else, though. But anybody else who's been playing Ghired, let me know what you've been doing with it and what tricks you have that I might be missing. Leave me comments below. There's also a link to my Twitch so that you can catch me playing it. I play every Thursday night at 6 o'clock Eastern Time. Plus, I try to fit in streaming schedules at other times. You can also follow and subscribe to the channel if you're interested in not just Magic the Gathering, but possibly in vintage toys and games and stuff, because I do a lot of content on that. Give me a follow, and hope to chat with you guys all soon, and see you in game.